Welcome to Homeworld Deserts of Karak. This is Major Pack 2. We have a Soban mirror match here. This is a fresh replay from Artifact Cup 40, and this is from round 6. So we're really skipping ahead. The reason we are skipping ahead is because I'm experimenting with something. We're going to see what happens here. Here is philothanic. Philothanic, philothanic. I'm gonna go with philothanic or just Philo, who I've played with a few times in, a lot in 2v2. A strong player, and playing here is like the really dark black Soban. So really interested in this. Soban mirror matches are kind of rare, and Philo's not really doing anything crazy. It's hard to do anything super crazy as the Soban. We're going to reveal Philo's opponent, who is Mordax Praetorian, also in like black Soban. So this is like a super dark mirror match. And the thing that I am testing this game, not to take away from the replay itself, because we are going to watch that, is I have updated my replay tech viewer mod for DOK 1.3, the latest patch. Because that patch broke it, made it incompatible, and I'm just taking a look and it looks like it's working because I can see that Mordax has researched LAV fabrication while Philo has not. Philo's probably going for support cruiser here, saving up those CUs. There we go. And Mordax, meanwhile, going for AAV fab. So, cool. This is working. That's, like, really cool. One thing that I would like to add to this mod at some point is the ability for this this resourcing status to flip depending on whose units I've selected. Or maybe even just have the whole UI vanish in replay mode if I don't have a unit selected, and then when I select a unit, I see that player's resourcing and unit cap and the number of salvagers there and things like that. Maybe even, also fix like the unit stats that show up down here insofar as, the like who's producing what and stuff like that. Because it's really silly in a replay that you actually care about whose perspective you're viewing it from. Even something like the sensors view, I'm wondering if there might be a way to display both colors, like maybe orange highlighting or something like that for the other player's sensors view. That's going to be a little trickier, but if I find that code responsible for that, I might be able to make that happen. We'll see. Those are just some ideas. If you have any other ideas for cool replay viewing stuff, let me know, because some of this stuff might be like super hard and will never ever happen, but some of it might be totally easy and could really enhance our replay viewing experience. So in any case, back to the game here. Mordax here. I have to actually click and look at who it is because they're both black Soban base runners. But Mordax has nabbed that artifact after the two were dancing around there. No real forces out to contest either way. Railgun fab coming in here for Philo, which is going to be nice because Mordax really hasn't used that AAV tech that he researched. He got that and then never sent any AAVs out. Also, another base runner pickup here for Mordax. Probably one of these base runners is going to die getting to the extraction zone, although maybe not. I don't know. There's only a few LAVs here. It's pretty close to the extraction zone. Yeah, no, he'll get that in. So, two early artifacts, which for a Galcian or a Coalition player, or a Knef player even, could be very strong early. But for Soban, I don't know how much it does. It really helps defensively, because the Soban player can add more power into the ALMs to be very defensive. But it's not going to pose a mortal threat, because even after the updates in DOK 1.3, the Soban carrier is really not that scary. It's not like it gets tons and tons of damage. It would be cool if it just became like a super railgun. Anyway, one of these base runners will die, and the other one possibly too, but they got the artifacts in, so mission accomplished. Meanwhile, Philo did get an artifact in here. And this AAV here from Mordax is going to be pretty defensive. Might go out and try and chase away these LAVs here, but it's pretty late to get onto the field. It's definitely not going to crush Mordax's economy or anything like that. Or, excuse me, Philo's economy. It certainly won't crush Mordax's economy either to build one AAV. Nice AAV placement there, though. High ground. I mean, these LAVs can retreat and they can deal with this targeting jammer, so it's not a super trap, but definitely nice to hold that there instead of just running it in Although I can see merits either way.
Coordinates confirmed.
Railgun weapons upgrade complete.
Back to the tech. We got both just plain old boring railgun and AAV fab here for Mordax. Good solid coalition faction sort of base tech. Meanwhile, just railgun and then fighter tech for Philo, which I think could be really interesting because with these railguns now coming out from Mordax, Mordax might be feeling like, well, I've got railguns and you've got railguns, but I've also got AAVs, and that'll counter your labs, right? Which is true, but fighters are gonna just clean this mess up.
Railgun assembly complete.
So here, these railguns from Philo are going to get trapped. They do technically have a high ground bonus here against these railguns from Mordax, but this AAV is going to catch these other railguns out, and it's not going to be a very good trade either way. Soban versus Soban railguns, it's hard to really get an edge there, although really close to killing that railgun there. 6 hit points. Maybe these... Oh, he didn't spot it, I guess, because those labs would be really nice to get in there.
Enemy signature identified.
This is a situation, by the way, if you are a Soban or Coalition player and you have a railgun like this, it's dead. Don't put it out into the field. What you do instead is you move it back here, move it back to your support cruiser, and you get a free railgun. Because as it is, this railgun might get off one shot at best before it dies,
Enemy armor.
and it's not doing any good up here. It's on fire.
Railgun online.
Hostile unit marked. Bring engines to speed. We have
Even just a few shots from these LAVs would, actually, just one shot from these LAVs would probably tear apart this railgun.
Hostile armor on approach.
Instead, though, these LAVs are going to go and try and raid in the back. And in this situation, I really favor just killing the ALMs, because the ALMs are going to make it impossible to ever kill that support cruiser. But these cost 250 CUs. So, you know, retreating with these LAVs perhaps back over to here and just fighting one ALM at a time can be a really good way to... I mean, look at how many ALMs here are coming in from Mordax. This is really a waste of money. There were 3 here, so that's 750 CUs that have been spent on that. And yeah, they're gonna take out the LAVs and maybe save the support cruiser. But I think if Philo had been more determined to do CU damage or resource damage in general, as opposed to just taking out that support cruiser, then, you know, it's equally valid rather than taking out the resourcing operation itself, to just take out whatever's near it. And ALMs are very vulnerable. It's a trap you can get Soban players into quite easily. But enough of that. We have an ALM-proof unit here coming in, a gunship, which is going to harass down these ALMs. That's a really nice move, because those are not very well armored units. They're expensive, they're immobile. You really can't protect an ALM from the air. And following that up, we've got railguns coming in to tango with the other railguns here from Mordax. So Philo definitely putting the pressure on, not necessarily making the most decisive choices in terms of what to target, how to position units. It feels like this assault is a little scattered, but it's okay because the defense from Mordax is equally sort of unguided and scattered, and these AAVs have been struggling to find anything to do. The railguns here from Mordax have been struggling to really apply consistent damage. They're kind of splitting between a base runner and some other railguns, and so while this assault has been called off, some damage has been done on both sides. Let's check, though, the units lost tab here. We can see it's relatively even. Philo losing a fair bit more, especially with the base runners going down. And I think, you know, maybe dealing with the CUs over here would have been a better trade cost-wise for Philo. But that said, Mordax has a lot more on the ground in the form of those ALMs that can't be used in combat offensively. So this might be a little less uneven than it looks. As long as Philo doesn't lose too many units here. He's got railguns that are really not defended very well. He doesn't seem to have strike fighters of his own out on the field. He doesn't have any built. And these LAVs are being sort of thrown away. Maybe they can snipe that out of the railgun there. That would be a really good idea. Very cost-effective trade. But for now, these railguns, a few weak ones up front, they need to get repairs. So both players are struggling to deal with damaged units when they're playing these Soban Coalition factions.
Railgun destroyed.
This railgun really should have been fully retreating and then repairing. rather than tangling with an AAV. Let the healthy railguns tangle with an AAV. They can afford to absorb some of those hit points.
Hostile armor eliminated.
Gunship cleared to launch.
Tracking enemy target.
Gunship's going to be very strong against these railguns, and Mordax does have aircraft in the form of these strike fighters here to take out a gunship, and I don't know if this was reactionary or if Mordax just happened to get lucky on the timing there, but if these strike fighters target the gunship, they will just take that out, and that's a fairly pricey unit to lose, even though the price was reduced, I believe, in the patch. Doesn't look like they're targeting, though. Instead, support cruiser anti-air here from Philo is taking out the strike fighters from Mordax, and Philo's gunship is taking out the railguns. Finally, some strike fighters targeting that gunship, but it's still up. And the support cruiser anti-air almost completely saving this gunship. If only this... Okay, one missile finally takes out that gunship. So now, though, Philo's force is really dominating on the field here. Just one AAV standing here with these railguns that are backed up by support cruiser, and this is a really nice move. You know, I was talking about the repair issue, but now these units don't even have to retreat to get repaired. This railgun here that was damaged is going to get repaired by that support cruiser as long as it stays nearby. And the support cruiser with anti-air is a nice dual role unit here. I don't want to spend too much time in sensors view, but I do want to sort of keep track of the map overall. We've got more extractions going on here. Fourth artifact going to be going in from Mordax, and so even though Mordax is quite behind here, it seems like Mordax could still eke out a win just on the basis of artifacts, but you know, Mordax is struggling here to apply enough damage to these railguns. Luckily, they're getting a high ground bonus as they pop out of the carrier, and there's a lot of production being done here, but Mordax has to be careful to not lose these units and to make sure that they can kind of accumulate. Make Philo lose the war of attrition. So far, it's not working all that well, but the railguns from Philo have stopped attacking Mordax's carrier, which is very good. Mordax is going to pop out an ALM here to try and deal with these LAVs. It's not going to do that much for some reason. Maybe there's a warm-up period. But Philo's railguns now have been really pushed back. There is a support cruiser here, a vetted-up support cruiser. That's actually really interesting. I've never seen a vetted-up support cruiser. I've never noticed it anyway. And so now this blob of railguns from Mordax can move out. It would be nice to see them completely chase down and destroy this pack here before it gets reinforcements, but that's not going to happen. I want to check resources real quick because my guess is Philo had some float. Maybe it's being spent down now. Mordax now floating more.
Enemy on sensors.
On our way. Going mobile.
LAV destroyed.
Lots of back and forth here in terms of who has the dominant map control, who is sort of in the lead in terms of what their unit composition is like and their numbers. Philo really very quickly producing enough again to do damage, and Mordax is going to try and grab an artifact here under the nose of all these railguns, and they're going to be able to do that because these structures are actually line of sight blocking. Here comes air cover. It's going to be taken out by the support cruiser, but not before a few railguns go down. This is one of those reasons it would have been really great to take out that support cruiser. Just chase it down, use the mark target ability, get a little bit of extra damage on it. It's not very armored, because these aircraft, if they had had in total impunity, would have been able to completely protect this base runner. As it is, that base runner will go down, leaving Mordax without a path to victory for now. This base runner here is going to have to retreat. Would have been interesting if it came around here and grabbed that while this fight was going on. It might have split Philo's forces a little bit, but that's just a hypothetical we won't get to see. It's also shocking me that Mordax is continuing to attack this area and not directly attacking the support cruiser, not prioritizing that unit when that is the AA unit. Some damage being done to it, but it seems like that's the obvious unit to attack here. Finally, some railgun hits coming in on that support cruiser again. But this is kind of dangerous. We got just one railgun sitting out there for Mordax. It's going to try and maneuver out of that smoke.
Tracking enemy target.
On our way.
Backstab here that shouldn't do much, but is going to distract some strike fighters.
An LAV has been lost.
Confirmed.
Tracking hostile.
In this situation, if you have a Gaussian carrier or a coalition carrier, you can move your carrier out. You know, when you have 4 artifacts, you can just use that to bully control over the extraction zone. But here, it's tricky. And look at this. That support cruiser was so close to being down, but instead that fighter, I think, is going to go down to AA. Just a wasted unit at that point. But finally, that support cruiser goes down. So these fighters could be more effective. Mordax could choose to start building more, deploying them all out here, and just clean up these railguns really fast, even though there's really now no railgun opposition left. A couple more strike fighters are going to launch. There is another support cruiser coming up, so there's a very narrow window of opportunity here to do some damage here from Mordax. He needs to be able to clean up these weak units. Some LAVs would help with that, but he's going to keep building railguns instead. They're going to get sniped down as they pop out of the carrier. Air is really what we need to be using here, I think. Potentially an ALM even to come in here and do some quick damage. Let's check the resources real quick. Mordax floating a huge number of resources, so an ALM would be easy here. A couple of ALMs could be placed here that would take on a unit like this and trap these railguns in place here before the support cruiser arrives to take out air. Instead, LEV is going to come out, which are going to be effective against this comp because even though Philo has the ability to build AAVs, I believe. Yes. Philo has not really been building them. Finally, an ALM going to come out, going to trap these units. But there are LAVs here for Philo now. This is really not looking too good for Mordax.
Enemy contact on sensors.
Philo is on the run, which is good for Mordax, but I think less damage was done there than could have been. But LAVs now are going to change this game for Mordax a little bit if he can clean up these LAVs from Philo.
Light attack vehicle under fire. LAV destroyed.
Interesting that the support cruiser repair beams work even when it's stunned by ALMs. So we just heard CUs here for Philo have been exhausted. Quick look at the economy. The economy for Mordax is slightly better in that Mordax is mining from 3 bases directly as opposed to from a remote base here. But these fighters from Mordax just going down and down and down to the support cruiser anti-air here. Really poor choice of unit prioritization there, I think. If you're going to do anything, I think you use the railguns to focus the support cruiser and then bring out the fighters to clean up the railguns and LAVs. Doing it in sort of the opposite order or just trying to prioritize only the railguns first is leaving those, you know, it's making those strike fighters a very expensive investment.
Railgun engaging enemy units. Hostile contact marked. LAV destroyed. Ready alert. All stations. Hostile carrier approaching AO. LAV taking effective fire.
Sorry if there was a little blip there.
Copy. On our way.
Tracking enemy target.
Get this battle cruiser. I got a visual lock.
So another couple base runners here from Mordax. Not very well protected. Units here are behind. This is really dangerous. This is the lifeline, right? There's an artifact here that can be grabbed.
Fire on the move.
Now a Soban battlecruiser on the field for Philo. And this is really a lot harder to break now. This battlecruiser is going to get really good repairs from that support cruiser. The support cruiser has to be targeted down. The Soban railguns with their mark target ability here to be able to increase the damage that's being done by all other targets or by all other weapons. That'd be really good against a support cruiser. It's an unarmored target. You just boost that damage from these railguns and that thing goes down. And now you can then just kind of beat down this battle cruiser into submission. But as it is, oh, this is risky. Somehow this base runner escaped and there's another base runner following and this base runner grabbing an artifact. But there's like no military left here for Mordax, no air, but I'm guessing a lot of float because the resourcing from Mordax, oh, okay, there's no float. Well, that's shocking to me.
Copy. On our way.
Tracking hostile.
Well, there's a bit of RU float there, so air could be used. That unit gonna go down. Now, the one good thing here for Mordax is that battlecruiser is really slow, and these railguns are not chasing this base runner.
LAVs
could do it, but there's no unit here to take care of that. Is there a nuke? Well, no. There's no nuke tech there. There's no air for Philo. This base runner here from Mordax is just about to win. At the same time, this battlecruiser and railgun blob is about to win if it takes out this carrier from Mordax. Philo's units could use marked target here to take out this carrier, especially with the battlecruiser fire there. That would be incredibly effective. They all have a high ground bonus, so we're gonna have to watch both of these situations unfolding. That carrier going down quickly as this base runner with the winning artifact is approaching. ALMs here coming out from Mordax to try and protect the carrier, but I think the carrier goes down first.
Hostile forces have dropped an artifact.
So, close game. Really not very much distance here. The unit highlight is gone, but the base runner was about here when we can take a look at that wreck there. When the carrier went down. So definitely not a super close game. You know, that wasn't like random die roll or anything like that. I would say Philo had the edge there and was able to keep Mordax on the back foot for most of the game. But there are little things that both players could have done to eke out a little bit more performance from their fights. So I hope to see them take advantage of some of those tricks soon. And maybe we'll see another game between these two players in another Artifact Cup coming up. Anyway, thank you for watching this, and thank you for being around to test the replay viewer mod, which I will be distributing to interested parties right after I finish recording this. So until next time, stay tuned for more replays, and thank you again.